Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be repurposing some vintage items into some summer garden decor. For this project, I wanted to make a bird feeder slash wind chime. So I'm using this little milk glass plate that I got from the thrift store. To make the wind chimes, I am using these antique keys that I got from Amazon. They come in a package of, I believe, 40 of them. I'll have them linked in my Amazon storefront. To hang these, I'm just going to be using some of this really thin twine. I'm also going to be using these pearls to add on to the wind chimes. I'm going to be hanging these from the smaller holes in the milk glass, so I ended up needing 12 pieces of the twine, and I just measured these out to be the same size. I'm going to start by taking one of those pieces of twine and tying a knot around inside that little hole. I'm making sure to leave a little tail there when I tie it, so when I add one of the pearls, I can use that tail to tie a knot under the pearl so it won't move up and down on the twine. Then I'm going to add another pearl kind of in the center of that twine and tie another knot under there. Right under that pearl, I'm going to add one of the keys onto there, and again just tie a knot so it's not sliding down the twine. Then at the very bottom, I will add one more key to that line. So each of these strands is going to have 2 pearls and 2 keys hanging from it. I'm going to continue this pattern all the way around my milk glass plate. And as I worked my way around, I did try to keep my pearls and my keys at a similar, if not the same spot on each of the strands. Even though it didn't quite turn out that way, it was close enough. Now, once I was finished with the wind chime part, then I am going to use this plant hanger from Dollar Tree to actually hang this up. I removed a few of the links from the chains just to make it a little bit shorter, and then I did take this outside and spray paint it with some Rust-Oleum gold spray paint just because I felt like the gold matched better. For this project, I'm going to be making a bird bath with this little vintage bowl that I found at the thrift store for $2. I believe this is hand painted, and I just really thought it was so pretty. Now, you can do this with any vintage bowl that you might already have or one that you've picked up at the thrift store. For the base of my bird bath, I already had this little concrete piece. It was actually here when I moved in my house, and it's just been sitting in my garden. So this was free, and I'm going to use it for the base. I needed a really strong adhesive for this, so I picked up this Loctite all-purpose construction adhesive at my local hardware store. This stuff is really strong and bonds pretty much instantly. This one comes with a little squeezy thing you can squeeze it out with. Now, I will say it comes out super thick and super quick, so I made a huge mess with it, adding it to the bottom of my bowl, and I had to use some paper towels to remove a lot of it. I also wasn't really thinking of the shape of my base when I did this, so I added it to places it didn't even need to be added to. Once I wiped off a lot of that excess, I just put it on top of my little concrete stand. Now, like I said, this kind of bonds instantly, so you only have a second to place it where you want it. I did notice a few gaps under the bowl, so I just added some more of that glue and then wiped off the excess with a wet paper towel. Then I let it set for 24 hours. For this project, I had these little concrete bricks just laying around. I actually just found these outside under my porch, and I thought they would be super cute as little books for the garden. Before I used these, I did make sure to clean them up really well with some soap and water. My sweet friend Sammie from Unicorn Dust Designs sent me these DIY paints, and I was really excited to try them out. If you haven't checked out her channel yet, I will leave her channel linked in the description box below. For one of my bricks, I am going to be using this Waverly chalk paint in the color moss green. This is one of my favorite colors, but for this first one, I am using one of those DIY paints. This color is called Faded Burlap, and it's pretty much a grayish color. It's kind of gray, kind of tan, and I really love how smoothly these went onto the bricks, and it dried super fast. Now on my bricks, some of the sides were smoother than the other sides, so I just kind of chose the smoothest sides, and I'm going to paint those, leaving the top part, the bottom part, and one of the sides to look like book pages. You can kind of see how rough the top, the bottom, and that one side is. So I did bring this color up over the top, the bottom, and the front that's gonna look like pages so that it looks like the book cover is coming over it. And you'll be able to see it more clearly as I'm doing this green color on one of the bricks. Again, just painting the spine of this book and the front and the back, and then I will take this green color just over the edges a little bit so that it looks like the cover comes up. And I am just painting these with one coat of paint. I'm okay with some of that brick showing through. And here you can see I am just bringing those colors a little bit over the edges where it's going to look like the book cover. For the first one that I used, the Faded Burlap color, I'm going to be using this little vine stencil. It came in a package that I got from Amazon, but I'm also going to be using that moss green color for the stencil, and I'm kind of just going to place this very randomly all over the book. And since these are little bricks for the garden, I am going to be giving these brick books some garden inspired titles. And so as I did the front of the brick, I did leave room so that I could write a title on the front of it. Then, like I said, I carried the stencil over to the spine of the book brick and also all over the back side of it. For this one, I left a little space in the top kind of center part of the spine, and I taped it off so that I could paint a white square. Now, since these are kind of lumpy and bumpy, it's a little difficult to write neatly on these bricks. So I'm using this little alphabet stencil. I don't even remember where I got it from. I believe it's from Walmart. But I am taking a pencil and just filling in those little stencil letters. And for this one, I decided to go with a classic book, which is The Wind in the Willows. Once I traced out all of my letters onto here, then I just used a paint pen and went over those. I also decided to add a little design from that stencil just because I had a bit of room under the title. Moving back to the spine of the book, where I painted that little white square, I decided instead of adding the title, I would add this little book stamp that I got from Amazon. And then I used my paint pen to trace around that white square. For the second book brick that I'm doing, I decided to do the title first because I'm gonna do a little bit of artwork on the front of this brick, and I wanted to make sure that the title fit nicely on top of here. This one is going to be The Secret Garden, so I thought it would be cute to do a little wood fence gate into the secret garden. I started with a tan color and just painted kind of the shape of the gate going into the garden, and then I'm using a darker brown color to do the actual gate. Then I'm going to use a liner brush with that darker brown color and make the stones that go around the gate. Then I'm just going to mix up some colors, some lighter tan with a little bit of white and a little bit of that darker brown with a little bit of white. and I'm gonna go over each of these stones, making them look like they're a different color, a different shade, so that it actually looks like stone. Then I'm gonna go back to that wood door and I'm gonna add some of that lighter tan color over that dark color, kind of blend it in and give it a variation so it looks like wood. Then I'll use my liner brush again with that darker brown color and make some little lines to make it look like there are planks. And of course, since this is the secret garden, I had to add the little lock onto the door. Then I'm going to use a small brush and that different green color. It's a brighter, kind of darker green color. And I'm just dabbing this kind of all over the place, making it look like full vines going up and down over this door. And you don't have to make any shapes or anything, kind of just dabbing this little brush all over the place just makes it look like a lot of greenery. Then I mixed up this pinkish kind of purpley color, and again I'm just using that small brush and dabbing it to make little flowers all over these green vines. Then I'm going to mix that pinkish purple color with a little bit of white paint and give these flowers some highlights. Once I finished with the front of it, then I moved on to the spine, and again I am tracing out the title on the spine before I start doing the greenery. And I'll just kind of add that around that title. And just like before, I'll add some of those pink flowers, and then I also did this to the back side. And to finish it off, I just went over the titles with my paint pen. For this project, we are going to be turning an old colander into a hanging planter. Now, if you wanted to, you could totally leave this the silver color that it is, or if you find a vintage one that is colored, you could keep it that way. But I am going to be spray painting mine with some white spray paint. Once it was dry, I brought this back inside and I'm going to add some black paint just around the rim and the edges to kind of make this look like old vintage enamelware. I also decided that I wanted to add some pretty details on here just to make it different and unique. So I'm using some of my stamps and my archival ink. And these are floral stamps that I got from Amazon, and I'm just going to place these kind of randomly all over the outside of the colander. Now, if you wanted to, you could absolutely use this for real plants or real flowers since it already has the drain holes in it, but I lack a green thumb, so I'm turning mine into a succulent planter. And not only is it a succulent planter, but it is going to be a faux succulent planter. So I'm using some fake succulents from the Dollar Tree, and I'm also using some flower moss from Dollar Tree and some of their little rock stones. I'm going to put this in a dish pan because this moss is super messy and this just makes it easier to clean up. And then I'm going to add in the moss and then on top of there, the rocks. Now, if you end up not having enough moss and rocks, you can add in some plastic bags to fill in the spaces and then cover it with the moss and the rocks. Then I just added my succulents down into there. And to hang this, I'm just going to attach another Dollar Tree plant hanger. And that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these garden decorations. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.